Welcome to the IPA hashtag She is IPA and PolicingTV. This is a collaboration between us, the International Police Association and PolicingTV, to highlight women in policing and police women in International Police Association. Well, my name is May-Britt Rinaldo Ronnebro. I'm the former national president of IPA Sweden, chairperson of the Professional Commission, and I'm also the former Secretary General of International Executive Board of IPA. I am one of several women that started this hashtag She is IPA, and we try to bring in interesting persons that we would like to speak with. Mainly women, of course, because this is a way to empower police women around the globe. However, our goal is also to engage our male colleagues in policing and our male members in IPA as well. I would like to say that we are so happy about that PolicingTV kindly support us with the platform for all these recordings, and hashtag She's IPA is now out, already running with many interviews. Today, I am so pleased to say welcome to Mr. Martin Hoffmann, that is the national president of IPA Austria, but that is not enough. He's also the international president of the International Executive Board of IPA. We will speak with Martin about his background in policing and what he's doing today. We will also speak about IPA and why he joined the organization. And of course, as this recording is done for the 8th of March, the International Women's Day, of course, we will speak about that too. Martin, I know that you joined the police in 1988. Some of the women that might be watching now, and also men, might not even born at the time. But can you tell us a little bit about your own police organization in Austria and how it's built up, and whatever information you would like to share with us today, please?
Yeah, thank you, May-Britt. First of all, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, May-Britt. The hashtag She's IPA initiative is an admirable project, and I'm excited to contribute to such an important conversation about empowering policewomen. So,
Thank you.
to your question, when I joined the Austrian police, as you said, in 1988, the landscape was significantly different from what the police force is now, especially for women. Historically, in Austria, the first group of 54 policewomen was trained in 1965, undergoing a 2-year program, but initially assigned exclusively for managing the stationary traffic, so only parking and everything else. And it was until 1991, so I was already in police, that the first course of 185 women program started. And this was the first time that fully qualified police officers and policewomen carrying out the same duties and receiving the same payment as the male colleagues. So it was until 1991. As the numbers of last week, I got the numbers today. There are approximately 32,000 police officers in Austria right now. The representation of women right now of the uniformed staff of policewomen is 24%. In administrative roles, so in offices or in the ministry, there are currently 58%, so it's a majority, and the overall present and police force is this time, beginning of February, was the very first time more than 30%. So, but these numbers are expected to improve in the upcoming years, because in the police academies right now, the women recruits are right now at 38%. So it's increasing very slowly, but it's increasing.
Wonderful. This is really interesting, because when I think about my own country, we are quite equal in the numbers, I think. And we also try to get the kind of what we call equal balance, and that would be 40-60 at least. And then you will see a change of it. So of course that is also where you are heading.
Yeah. As you know, I was like in an apprenticeship from 1985 until 1988, and there were only males in my class. So this was different times then. So 1991, it
Yeah,
changed. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
When women start to come into to the profession and really want to be seen also out in the streets.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So if we return back to your background as police officer,
Yeah.
you joined in 88, and I know that you stayed with the police in Vienna until 2001.
Yeah.
Would you be happy to share some memories from that time with us?
Yeah, it was a different time, of course. So I was working in the 13th and in the 9th district in Vienna, very beautiful, quiet districts in Vienna. And my duties were those of a typical police officer in Vienna in the late 80s and 90s on the street. And that time was the time when the first drugs come over the borders from the east in Austria. And these were typical problems there, the drug crimes, not when I left the police, it started the refugees coming over to Austria, and I was not involved in that problems at that time. But yeah, I had the benefit, yeah, to see what was Vienna in that time in the late 80s and in the 90s, because as everybody knows, Vienna is still, or yeah, is still one of the safest cities in the world. But it was still different in the 80s and 90s. It's
Mm,
totally changed later on.
mm,
Yeah, for me privately, it was also very interesting because the contrast, because I was working in Vienna and was living 80 kilometers away from Vienna.
mm,
And so I had a unique perspective, I think, because back then, when you work in the city as police officer, you normally see the crime there when you're not living there,
mm,
and that was the big difference. Now I live in the city. I have a different position right now, and I experience Vienna from an entirely new angle.
mm,
So the focus is not longer on law enforcement, if you want. So I appreciate much more Vienna now, and it's considered as the most livable city in the world, and I know exactly why right now. So it's a different perspective what I had in the
mm,
former days working in Vienna as police
mm.
officer and not living there, and so that's totally different now.
I can imagine the big change. And you also had a big change when women started to come into the profession. You have any memory of those women
Yes,
that you worked together with the first
yes,
years?
yes, yes. Of course, I can remember very exactly that at the beginning, nobody wanted to drive with women in the police cars because they thought if there's any uh, fight or something
Mm,
or exchanges, don't want it to rely on women in their car. They were used to having males on their side,
mm,
and they thought it's much safer that way. But nowadays, of course, we know if you have a woman on your side, maybe it's never come to a fight. You have more discussions, and maybe the opposite behaves totally different, of course, if there's a woman on your side.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember my first years as well, similar to it, that people had, or my male colleague had that kind of opinion, but they quickly learned the
yeah,
positive things from it. Yeah.
mhm,
Thank you for sharing a little bit about your police background, Martin.
yeah.
Well, but you're not working as police officer any longer, but you're close to it somehow. Would you be happy to tell us what you do today in your professional role?
Yes, yes. It was a hard decision, of course. It was 2001. My son was born 1998, and it was that time I made the decision I wanted to leave the police service in Vienna because I wanted to work closer to my hometown in Krems, what I said
Mm,
before, 80 kilometers away. And I was traveling almost 3 hours a day between Vienna and Krems and back. And that's why I was looking for an alternative, which I found. And in 2001, it was easier that time to switch to the prison service than to the gendarmerie, which we still had that time, because on the countryside and in the small cities, there was still the gendarmerie, and it was much harder to change from the police service to the gendarmerie, as it was for me switching to the prison service. Yeah, and I did this 2001. 2003, I worked in the middle management in the high security prison. And over the last decade, I had the privilege to working in the Department of Basic Education in the Austrian Prison Service Academy. And this role not only covers the training for for prison staff, uniform and civil prison staff, but also in the last year I had some changes. Like I'm also now responsible for the recruitment process and to get new staff, and since half a year also for the overall recruitment for prison staff. And so we got 2 recruitment officers now in my department, only responsible for recruitment, and very interesting, but of course a lot of work besides my basic work, which is education.
Yeah, sounds really challenging.
Yes, but still very interesting. So,
Very
and
good.
I really enjoy it, and I have a great staff on my side, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm really appreciate my work.
So how about women in as police guards? Is that common?
In prison
Yes.
service,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. It's we organize every month online recruiting day, and I would say half of the participants are women, and they are very interested in working there. And we have to let them know that it's normally the knowledge of prison service is very limited, because normally you see only movies or TV series, and you don't have the right perspective what is the prison serving is doing in Europe right now. And so it's totally different, and it's good to know. I think it's in Sweden the same thing in Austria. It's much more safer, thankfully, than you see in the movies, in the American movies or something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you have had a really interesting working life so far, Martin.
Yeah.
And we are happy that you are sharing all this with us today when we speak about hashtag She's IPA, and we also do that together with PolicingTV. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Now.